is Aurellia Trixie Chandra, and I am from Grade 12 Science 4. I am reviewing an RPG called Undertale. The game was initially released by Toby Fox on September 15, 2015, and as of September 18, 2018, it was released on the Nintendo Switch with extra content. There are quite a lot of details in Undertale, and we would be here forever if I were to recount everything, so I will be glossing over the main story and instead focus on the endings. Undertale starts by the recounting of the tale of humans and monsters. A war broke out between the two races, with humans reigning victorious, while monsters were banished and sealed underground from the surface by a magic barrier. There's a singular gap at Mount Ebott, where anything could get in, but not out. The character the player controls in the game is the protagonist, a human child canonically known as Frisk, who falls into the underground after climbing Mount Ebott. The player immediately encounters Flowey, a sentient flower monster. He explains the bare bones of the game mechanic to the player by entering a battle sequence, showing a red heart that he points out to be Frisk's soul. He says that soul starts off weak, and that since Frisk starts off at LV1, they would need to raise their LV, which stands for love, to get stronger. Flowey reveals himself the main antagonist shortly thereafter by trying to kill Frisk for their soul, hiding his violent and psychopathic tendencies under an innocent and helpful guise. Fortunately, Toriel, a motherly goat-like monster, saves Frisk from Flowey and guides them through the ruins, giving the player a tutorial on how the game works. She teaches the player how to solve puzzles and how to use the game mechanic Act and Spare, where Frisk would have to interact correctly with the monsters they encounter and then spare them, instead of using the fight mechanic, where they would kill the monsters. She invites Frisk into her home, baking a pie for them, and intends to trap them. She will block Frisk from the only way to the rest of the underground, even battling them in order to stop them at all cost. It is revealed that she is doing this so they would not have to die at the hands of Asgard Dreamer, the king of the underground. After sparing Toriel, Frisk leaves the ruins in search of Asgard's castle, which contains the barrier that separates the underground from the surface. During Frisk's journey to Asgard's castle, they would meet several monsters that are relevant to the story, such as Sans and Papyrus, two skeleton brothers acting as sentries of the Snowdin forest with the job of looking out for any humans. Undine, an aggressive fish-like monster who is the head of the royal guards, hunting Frisk down in order to take their soul to Asgore. Alphys, a meek reptilian monster who is the kingdom's royal scientist. She would try to help Frisk go through puzzles but would ultimately fail at it with how socially awkward she is. And Marathon, a ghost-possessed robot television host that Alphys created. As the story progresses, the player would learn that Asgore is collecting 7 human souls in order to break the barrier and wage war against the humans. It is revealed that he already has 6, which means Frisk's soul will be the final soul Asgore needs. The player would learn why Asgore wants to break the barrier and wage war against humans near the end of the game if the requirements are met. The first human child that fell underground, canonically known as Kara, was adopted by Asgore and Toriel, who themselves had a child named Asriel Dreamer. Asriel and Kara grew together and bonded like best friends. One day, Kara fell ill and died after purposefully eating buttercups. Their soul was absorbed by Asriel so he could return Kara's body to the humans, only to be attacked and wounded fatally, refusing to fight back despite being able to. Asgore declared war on humans shortly thereafter, both of his children's death, while Toriel fled to the ruins. The game's ending depends on how the character has decided to play the game. There are 3 ways someone could play the game: the true pacifist route, the neutral route, and the genocide route. The neutral route can happen in many ways, from killing just a single monster to killing everyone the player encounters except for the one the player decides to spare, to not completing all the requirements needed for the true pacifist route, despite not killing anyone. The true pacifist route can only happen when the player goes through the entire game without killing a single monster, have previously completed a neutral route, and met all the requirements needed for the ending. The genocide route can only happen when the player kills every single monster in every area. The player would need to intentionally trigger encounters until encounters can no longer occur because there simply aren't any more monsters. This is similar to level grinding in other RPGs. During the neutral route and the pacifist route, when Frisk arrives at Asgor's castle, they'll be confronted by Sans in the last corridor right before they could confront Asgore. He reveals that love is an acronym for level of violence and that EXP stands for execution points. He judges Frisk for the amount of love and EXP they have. In the neutral route, Asgore takes away Frisk's ability to spare him, and they would have to fight him to progress. Flowey interrupts the very last moment of the battle by killing Asgore and stealing all 6 of the human souls. The game will close by itself, and when the player opens it again, a glitched version of the tale recounting of this history between humans and monsters will play. Then it is revealed that Flowey has turned into Photoshop Flowey, also known as Omega Flowey, and becomes the final boss. Every time Frisk dies in this boss fight, Omega Flowey would mock the player in the game over screen and laugh before closing the game again. After Frisk defeats Omega Flowey, it is implied that they managed to go through the barrier and the ending. They would receive a phone call from Sans, who updates them on the state of the underground after their departure. The dialogue in the phone call will change depending on which monsters the player decides to kill, which one will be spared, and the player's in-game actions. In the true pacifist route, it is revealed that Flowey is a reincarnation of Azrael, created by accident in one of Alphys's experiments. Toriel intervenes the battle with Asgore before any fighting could happen, joined by the other monsters Frisk befriended along the way. Flowey ambushes the group, taking all 6 human souls and the souls of all the monsters, taking form of an older Azrael to fight Frisk as the final boss. Frisk would have to connect with the monsters they have befriended during the fight to defeat Azrael. After his defeat, Azrael would revert back to his child form and destroy the barrier, expressing remorse before saying that he would become Flowey once more. The monsters reintegrate with the humans on the surface, while Frisk has the option of accepting Toriel as their adoptive mother. Choosing to stay with Toriel will show both of them in their new home on the surface. Choosing to part ways with the monsters will result in a photo of Frisk and their monster friends appearing at the end screen. In the genocide route, while walking through Asgore's home, the player would encounter Flowey multiple times. Flowey reiterates his kill or be killed mentality, saying that he and Frisk wouldn't hesitate to kill each other if the need arises. Flowey realizes in horror that Frisk would actually kill him and flees while they chase after him. In the last corridor, Sans warns both Frisk and the player that they would have a bad time. If the player continues, Sans will fight Frisk and become the final boss of the genocide route. The fight is widely considered to be the most difficult in the game. After defeating Sans, Frisk proceeds over to Asgore, who they kill in one hit and finished off by Flowey, who begs for his life. After killing Flowey, the player doesn't exit the battle screen. Instead, the first fallen human, Kara, appears and talks to both Frisk and the player directly. The player and Frisk are given the choice to either erase the world or not to. Choosing to erase the world results in Kara calling both Frisk and the player a great partner, stating that Kara and the both of them will be together forever. Choosing the latter of the options will cause Kara to act seemingly surprised and asks the player, "Since when were you the one in control?" followed by jump scares. Following either option, a slash animation is seen followed by the window shaking, filled with nines, resulting in the world destruction and the game closing by itself. There is an interesting detail after completing the genocide route. Completing the genocide route permanently alters the endings of any genocide route or true pacifist routes the player completes in the future. Upon relaunching the game for the first time after completing a genocide route, only a black screen with the sound of wind appears. The player will have to wait up to 10 minutes until Kara addresses them, reminding the player that they've destroyed the world and questions if they think they are above consequences. Kara suggests that they could compromise and they will bring back the world in exchange for their soul. If the player agrees to this exchange, the game closes and appears to load normally the next time it is opened. Routes completed as this exchange are often referred to as soulless routes. At the end of the soulless true pacifist route, the following occurs. If the player chooses to stay with Toriel, at the very last second of the scene of them with Toriel in their new home, it is revealed that Kara has taken full possession of Frisk. If the player chooses to not stay with Toriel, the photograph of Frisk's and friends changes, showing that Frisk has been replaced with Kara and all the other characters' faces have been crossed out and scribbled over. At the end of the soulless genocide route, the following occurs. Kara will state that they and the players are not the same, stating that Frisk's soul has twisted feelings they no longer understand. Kara wonders why the player continues to recreate the world, only to destroy it over and over again. Kara then states the player is racked with a perverted sentimentality and suggests that if they were to recreate the world again, a different route would be advised. I found that the game has a wonderful and touching story, which had admittedly made me tear up several times while playing it. The gameplay style is very unique. The option of completing the game without having to kill anyone isn't something you see every day in an RPG. The game isn't all that hard either, considering I didn't die all that often, and Undertale was the first game I played that had a battle system. All the characters, even the minor ones you encounter that you meet and befriend, all have such enduring personalities and character designs. The humors and puns they're peppered in generously in the game are hilarious as well. The soundtrack made for the game is phenomenal, especially the boss fight soundtracks. I often find myself just listening to them in the background while I work on my assignments. I may be biased, but I found that there are no weaknesses to the game. Undertale was nominated for Innovation Award, Best Debut, Best Narrative at the Game Developers' Choice Awards. In 2016, at the Independent Games Festival, the game won the Audience Award and garnered 3 nominations for Excellence in Audio, Excellence in Narrative, and the Sumas McNally Grand Prize. I recommend this game for anyone 12 and up, and I rate this game a 5 out of 5.